One. Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to the Great Scott Podcast. Today, I am joined by legendary comedian and actor, Mr. Bob Zany. Bob, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Michael. And a lot of folks don't know the pre-show and all the prep that you did before we got on the air. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, hey,
You
Bob, I have
pronounced
to.
my name perfectly, Bob. I mean, a lot of people screw that up.
I know that you have a bit where you say what your real name is. I was going to introduce you as Grandpa Munster, but I decided
That's one
against
of
it.
them. I
That's one
actually
of.
had like 18 jokes. That was my little tribute to Steve Martin because he used to always do that.
And speaking
He'd
of,
always have a new joke about earn.
yeah, and speaking of Steve Martin, that's been a highlight of your career, getting to work with Steve.
Well, yeah, in the early days, because it was 19, what year was that? 85, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
George Burns Comedy Week. And technically, I got to work with George Burns. Think about that. You don't even know who that is, but if
Jack
you
Benny
do,
was his best friend.
wow. I had Tom Dreesen on my podcast,
Yes, sir.
and Tom Dreesen told a story. He was in Las Vegas, and George Burns was at Caesar's Palace, so he went to visit him after the show in his dressing room. And the first thing George Burns, at the age of 99, said to him, "Hey, Tom, I just tried out 3 new jokes and they worked." He was 99. 3 new jokes and they worked. There's comics who give up on writing again. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's why he was a star.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. An amazing guy. He died not too long after that.
No, no, he died that night with the new jokes, but that's not the point.
Yes, that too. Yes, absolutely. So, Bob, I know that you probably get asked this question a lot, but how did the name Bob Zany come to be?
It's interesting. I saw a commercial in high school. I think it was probably my freshman year, my sophomore year. And yeah, it was my sophomore year. And it was Chevy Chase. He was advertising an album for Saturday Night Live. And did I just say it was like about 1977?
No.
No, well, about 1970, and they had an album out, and he says, "Hi, I'm that zany, lovable character from Saturday Night Live."
Oh,
And I went, "Zany, that's funny." So I went to school and I said, "I'm going to be Bob Zany Tetrol," and people started calling me that, and the rest is history.
so your name came from Chevy Chase then,
From a commercial, he
from a
doesn't know.
commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I came real close to it. He had a talk show. I came real close to being on it, but then it got canceled real fast.
Now, so you were speaking of your earlier career. I mean, when you were early career, you were on the Gong Show when you were 15 years old.
Yes, and I was Bob Zany Tetrod on the Gong Show, and it was 1977. I had just turned 16, but I count my auditions. I had auditioned 3 times before they said yes.
And you got
And
carried away, yeah.
yeah, so and it was like a week after my birthday was the tape date of the actual show. But it was an interesting time. I also auditioned for the Gong Show 2 other times. One with my 3 friends, Bob Alcantara and Mike and Mark Manning, who were twins, and we were Bobby Arm in the Pits, and we sang "We Love You, Bobby," and we got passed on. But the one that really, to this day, really irks me is like, because look, again, I'm 16 and I came up with this idea. I had a paper bag. I put it all over my body with just my head exposed, and I said I was the Unknown Comics half brother. And I had one-liners and everything, and I didn't get the gig. And it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, I know. But
You
then,
say that right before you get the subpoena.
yes.
Come on, man.
So, but you ended up getting your justice because you appeared as a celebrity judge about 10 years later on the Gong Show.
That's right. 10 years later, I got to work with Wolfman Jack, which was kind of cool, Dr. Demento, and Bob Eubanks. I don't know if you know who Bob Eubanks
The
is from the
Newlywed
Game.
Game. Yep.
The Newlywed Game, right. And I have on YouTube, I have my own channel. I don't really do what I should be doing on that. But I have an interview called Baggage Claim the Talk Show where I run into Bob Eubanks and we talk about that. But he never remember. I've met him 3 times and he never remembers that we worked together on the Gong Show. And I don't blame him. I mean, he's Bob Eubanks. I'm not.
But you're Bob Zany, though.
Yeah, but it's not as important to him. Then he asked me if his wife could cater anything I had going on. So Again, that's a little inside baseball,
Yeah.
but there, I got it out.
So Bob, you've been doing comedy for a really long time, and we have these big names that have been dying recently.
Yeah,
And
thank you for bringing that up. Go ahead.
sorry, but I wanted to ask you, did you know Larry King? Because all these tributes have been pointed into him.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, I have a joke, and now I can't do it anymore because he's dead. But Larry King collects antique clocks. Of course, when he bought them, they were new.
Yes.
But I did meet Larry King only once. We worked together on the Jerry Lewis telethon, and I think it was in it could have been Vegas, but it might have been the LA ones. And we were like two passing ships. He had got off and I came on, but he was complimentary, so that was nice. That's my Larry King story.
And speaking of the Jerry Lewis telethon, I think you're one of the top people who has appeared on the Jerry Lewis telethon the most.
Well, I don't know about the most, but I'm sure I did a lot. I did 17 appearances, and about 9 of those I was the guest co-host for the overnights while Jerry napped.
So are they now that the telethon is coming back with Kevin Hart? Have you been asked at all to come back at all?
I actually filmed some type of an announcement for it, but that's about it. It's only like 2 hours, so I don't. They're going to go with the really big names, and but I did something. It's actually his daughter, who's Jerry's daughter, Danielle, doing it. And it's a crack up because I remember her at the telethon and she was like 5, and now all of a sudden she's a producer. So good for her.
Now, speaking of Jerry, since we're on the subject, there's another lady who claims to be the daughter of Jerry Lewis. Is there any truth to that?
No, I'm the father.
You're the
And
father.
that's how I got the telethon, is because I took the hit. I said, look, Jerry, I'll say I'm the father. That way you can focus in on the telethon.
Yes. Okay. All right. So you also are married to a comedian, which you do the Bob Zany show with, Erin O'Connor.
Right, Erin O'Connor. She's very funny. We moved to Las Vegas just in time for the pandemic, which is smart. And I started doing cruise ships just in time for the pandemic. So there you go. How about that for timing? But she's out working. Some of the clubs have reopened with only 25% capacity, which again, a lot of pressure off me about selling out.
Yes. I was going to ask you if you guys work together outside of the podcast that you guys do.
Yeah, we do shows once in a while, but she has her career. I have mine. I'm sitting in a car doing a podcast with Michael J. Scott. Couldn't get any better than that.
So this isn't as good as.
What thrift store did you get those headphones from? Because I do the Goodwill tour and I see things like that. And I go, wow, that's magical. Yes. Were those the first ones you wore when you were a kid? You're 7 and you sat around with 2 cups going, this is Michael Scott, and this is, I don't even know what a podcast is, but I'll be doing one.
This is the last time Bob Zany will be on my podcast.
Oh, wow. You're so lucky. But let me give you some etiquette, okay?
Yes, sir.
I had 2 people last week asked to do a podcast, you and this other person on Facebook. And I sent you the text. I sent you the message, say, just email me the info and I'll do it. You did it and she hasn't yet. So he's sitting around going, he must be like a real snooty guy. She could have it like that. I just need something physical in front of me. Facebook, it disappears.
Yeah, so I've seen you that you're sometimes on Facebook, but not as much. Are you more of a Instagram or Twitter guy?
No, neither. None of them.
None of them.
I do very minimal stuff on all of them. I do have them. I'm just very frustrated with Twitter. I get like 20 to 50 followers a week and my numbers go down. So either it's something I said, I don't know what the hell, you know what I mean? It's like, it never gets past a point and I'm just going, I'm not going to let that rule my life. I'm on Parlor now. So check me out on, oh wait.
No, no, I don't think so.
Wait, I'm sorry. Free speech.
Free
it's
speech.
Alive and well.
Yes, absolutely. So Bob, so about 30 years ago, you had lost 175 pounds.
And there's a couple times I found some of it back, and I always keep working my way back down. I always like to say I've lost and gained more pounds than the London Stock Exchange. Thank God they didn't go to the euro, or I could never do that joke.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So that's one thing I wanted to ask you. I mean, when you're out on the road doing all these gigs, is it hard to stay away from the like junk food or I mean those
Yeah,
restaurants or
it's all choices. You know, sometimes now I'm not on the road as much. I'm actually working this weekend at a casino in Michigan in the UP. I think the UP is separated from actual Michigan because I'm shocked that they have a show. But I still waiting for that email.
Oh, gotcha,
I'm
gotcha.
doing it with Carolina Ray from what
Sabrina.
is Sabrina's? Yeah,
Sabrina.
yeah.
Oh, you're doing it
I
with
met her.
Caroline?
Oh yeah. She
She's
was married to
fantastic.
Kostaki. They had a kid together.
Yeah, that's true.
Kostaki
Absolutely.
Economopoulos,
Yeah.
the biggest
Yeah.
name in show business. That's all he could come up with. But a shout out to Kostaki. I guess he has something going on where he has a site all sports related. Do you know about that?
No.
Well, he asked me to write some because once in a while I write a sports joke. I'm more, politics and pop culture.
Yeah.
And I had the picture of that Viking guy in the Congress. And my caption was, "This is what happens when you allow fans go to the games."
Yeah, that's truth. That's truth.
Yeah.
So Bob, can you do a couple of the Zany reports for us? Do you have a couple of those Zany report jokes for
No,
us?
I actually didn't think you were going to. Every time I prepare to do that, they never ask. So this time I don't prepare, you ask. But I'll do a couple off the top of my head. This is interesting. Over the summer in Boise, Idaho, it reached 106 degrees, beating out the old record 105 degrees set in 1875. They're blaming the record heat on global warming. And of course, in 1875, they blamed it on summer. Summer.
Summer.
They called it summer back then. So there's one there. But folks, actually, I got this dry bar comedy special that's out there, and they've chopped it up. It's on YouTube too, where it's called Headline News, which I don't know why they didn't call it the Zany Report. I sure did during the taping. I guess they didn't watch closely enough. But you can see a Zany Report there and the Goodwill Tour. Get a lot of heat off that. So excited
Yeah.
about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you have that that dry bar that you were wanting
I'm
to
in front of
promote.
an actual audience, Michael. It's
Yes.
weird. It's
Yes.
the old days when there's audiences and they weren't 25 feet away thinking we're going to save ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Leaving,
Absolutely.
people are leaving Subway staring at me because I'm in a parking lot staring at Subway. I'm just waiting for Jared to come back.
Has he come yet?
How many times has Jared been asked that?
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and we'll leave it at that. And jokes like that, you just let them stay there and you move on to the next topic, and that way you don't get in trouble.
Well, Bob, I have to tell you, I mean, for the last 2.5 years, I have actually been doing stand-up myself. So,
Is there any way I can talk you out of
this? No, there's not.
How's
No.
it going?
So what's that?
You started stand-up right before the pandemic. Very smart.
Yes. About 2.5 years ago here in Kansas City. And which I hope that you do come back to Kansas City sometime after this craziness. But
man, I used to play there all the time in the old days at Stanford's, and
yes.
Also the Improv was there.
Yes.
And but it's interesting. My favorite story was at Stanford's, and I was probably 1993, 94, and the opening act. It was New Year's Eve, and the opening act was like 18, and he came up to me and said, "Tell me about comedy in the 80s," and I said, "It was great because you weren't born." Because I love people. I'm a people person.
You are a people person, yes. I love that homeless guy bit that you picked up the penny and you counseled that homeless guy.
Story. And, it's funny. I get asked to sit in on, classes with people wanting to be comedians. And I always tell them these stories happen every freaking day. You just have to be aware and write it down,
Yeah.
I had a guy actually come up to me after the show. This is my favorite story. It's not my favorite, but it's up there. Anyway, he said to me, I shaved and put in my teeth to be here tonight. And I went, that explains all the nicks on your face. You probably should have put your teeth in first and then shaved. Who says that to you?
Yes, absolutely.
I had a guy with a neck brace come up to me. And he said, "I remember when you weren't so big." I said, "I remember when you didn't have to commit insurance fraud to make a living." Because I love people, Michael.
You are a people person, yes, sir.
Tell me about do stand up? How is there places to go up on stage there?
Yes, we actually have the something called the Comedy Club at Kansas City, where we have some of these big names. I think that Kevin Farley's coming here pretty soon.
I thought you
Tim,
said big names.
yes,
Tim,
Tim,
the stocking book.
Tim
No, Kevin
Meadows.
actually, he's a nice guy. I actually met him. I did Joe Dirt. I was on that, and
Yes,
he actually showed up on the set of Joe Dirt. I don't know if he was in the film, but that's when he started going out and decided that showbiz was his destiny.
and it's amazing how much.
Kevin Farley sits around with Jim Belushi and go, "What happened?"
Yeah, yes, and it's amazing how much Kevin just looks a lot like Chris.
Well,
Amazing.
they're brothers.
Yeah, they're brothers. Yeah.
It proves that they both weren't adopted.
Yes, that's true. Yes, yes, absolutely.
There's some people who are brothers that don't look like brothers, like Prince William and Prince Harry. Harry is his father was Diana's bodyguard, and they still won't admit it. He has red hair.
Yes, yes,
I watched The Crown. I know.
absolutely. So let's talk about. I know you talked about a little bit about your dry bar special, but I'm so I definitely do appreciate you, Bob, that you do a lot of clean material versus a lot of those beat you over the head. And I've seen you do some of the dirty stuff as well. But there's just a deep fascination and appreciation that people seem to love for the cleaner side of the material.
Well, yeah, but it's left to interpretation. That's my problem with the whole thing. It's like my favorite story on that is Haywood Banks. You know Haywood?
Yes.
So Haywood is like supposedly the cleanest comic in the world. And some woman came up to him and said how dirty he was. And it's like people hear what they want to hear. So, I've had shows where I've done a couple of adult jokes or whatever, and people come to me and say, God, you're so clean. So again, I know how to mix it up. I can do a clean show. I can do an adult show, but my adult show doesn't cross the line. Because I worked the Laugh Factory in Hollywood, and the young kids, the stuff that they say.
Yeah. True.
And
Yeah.
there's at some point, I understand shock value, and there's also jokes where the word is important, and I get that. But sometimes it's just they're just saying it for the sake of saying it and say, look what I'm doing. It's like, do you understand George Carlin and Lenny Bruce and Richard Pryor went to jail so you could do that?
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. They were the first ones. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
that's all coming back, so don't worry.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, absolutely. Especially now. I mean, a lot of the younger comedians, it's just like these younger comedians, it's just like a bunch of tight jean wearing people just staying up doing jokes, telling every dirty thing that comes to their mind.
Well, I'm glad that you're checking out their genes. Now, I look more at the act.
Sorry. It's just a fashion thing.
No. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. It's a fashion thing anyway.
I wear a suit when I perform, and I'm like the only one wearing a suit at the Laugh Factory, and everybody else looks like they just got off their Starbucks shift.
Yeah, it's true. Well, Bob, since you've been doing comedy for a long time, and I'm just kind of compared to you getting into it, how do you deal with hecklers?
I wish them well.
Yeah.
Remember, if someone says something in the show and it's funny and the audience laughs, that's one less joke I have to do. I don't care, because at the end of the show, it's still my show.
Yeah.
You don't get angry at them. There's some DJs that don't want you to be funny. They want to be the stars,
Yeah.
No, it's still your show. Let them shine, and then people will remember that. Johnny Carson was the best at that. He just let his guests shine. He was a funny guy, but he didn't, have to hit him over the head.
Yeah, absolutely. True. Absolutely true. Well, Bob, I just want to ask you one more thing. I mean, I know that you talked a little bit about you're sitting in a room full of wannabe comedians, but and you gave some advice. But is there any advice you would give to wannabe comedians or actors?
No, I always tell. There's two things. One, ask yourself why you're up there. What are you trying to achieve? And the big one is stage time. And I don't even know how to tell anyone that now that everything's closed up.
Yeah.
But it's all about getting on stage. And maybe there's exceptions to the rule, like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock
Yeah.
and Eddie Murphy. They all got it fast and very young, but the rest of us had to work for it to get to that chops down, you know?
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
did, I was hosting a show on Comcast at the Aspen Comedy Festival. This was around 2000, 2001. And Dave Chappelle was there, and Dave came up to me, and I completely forgot this. He said to me, you know, Bob, my first TV show was with you. It was the Evening at the Improv. I said, wow, David, I don't even remember that because I did like 7 of them. And he says, you know who was in the audience? I said, no. He said, OJ and Nicole.
Wow.
And so just the other day, I was at the Laugh Factory in Vegas doing a show, and Harry Basil pulled it up, and you can find it somewhere on YouTube. And there it is. Bud Freeman points out OJ, and you can see Nicole sitting next to him. Now, I don't remember that. But anyway,
Did she look
so but
scared?
he was like 19, you know, doing TV already. It took
Yeah.
me probably until I was like 23, 24 until I started doing TV. So that'd be like 5 years after doing stand up.
No, but you were on the Gong Show at 15
Yeah,
though.
but I don't count that. That was just like, you know, a fluke.
Oh,
Had I
okay.
not gotten, Mike, had I not gotten paid, I don't think I'd be doing it for a living because they considered me a specialty act because they pulled me off stage by a man dressed like a nun with a mustache and a big net.
Was
So
that
they humiliated me on national TV, but they consider that a specialty act. Had I gotten gonged, I wouldn't have gotten paid $125.98 and a waffle iron. By the way, my parents weren't very happy about the waffle iron because we're a pancake family. I don't know why that gets a laugh, but it's true. But it always gets, maybe because it's true. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like the
absolutely.
real truth, you know? I still
Well,
remember getting that waffle iron in the mail one day.
wow. So do you still have it? I'm guessing it's long gone.
No, I don't have that one. No, I'm a big pack rat, but I'm letting stuff go now. I'm on Mercari.com, MERCARI.com. If you find my store at Bob Zany, you can actually buy stuff that I've collected over the years. I got showbiz stuff, Hot Wheels comic books, and I'm talking about from the 60s and 70s Hot Wheels and comic books. So this is the good stuff.
Will you be selling Larry King on your Macari now that
I
he's
don't
gone?
have a picture with Larry King. You know who else I don't have a picture with? And for 2 years I worked with closely? Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh,
You know, I booked his clubs in Las Vegas and in Century City, California, and I helped cast his HBO special. I was even in it, and
yes.
I still don't have a photo with Rodney. He didn't like photos, so I never crossed that line saying, "Hey, Rodney, can we get a photo?"
So I remember Fred Willard, I think, was on stage, and
Fred Willard
he's
is
yeah.
dead. Now he's dead. I love Fred. Fred was a great guy. I would call him up and he would just do stuff for me, and it's like, why would this guy do this? But he did. In fact, he was in my documentary Close But No Cigar, which I believe you can get on Amazon, and interviewing Fred, talking about stuff. But you know, Fred introduced me at the Improv in Santa Monica for the Rodney Dangerfield special.
Yep.
But you know who's supposed to do that?
Who's
Sam
that?
Kinison.
Oh.
But Sam that week went on a bender.
Oh yeah.
So, and you know, Rodney kind of made Sam Kinison and Andrew Dice Clay stars,
Yep.
and they were represented at the time by Rodney's attorney. And Rodney would say to me, "My attorney says the kids are fighting again," meaning Sam and Dice. They would fight. The kids are fighting again.
And Sam, oh man, Sam, what a dynamite comedian.
He still owes me $50. Okay, Mike? And I don't think I'm going to see it. I don't think I'm going to see it. I booked Sam and Carl LeBeau. I used to book rooms in the beginning. I used to book like 30 comics a week, and they called me up and they were desperate for money. I said, look, you guys go out here. Sam, pick up $50 for me, and Carl, pick up $25 for me for my commission, and they get paid, right? And so the gig happens. I don't see the money. Finally, I run into Carl on the golf course, and he paid me the $25, but Sam never did. And every time I saw Sam at the Comedy Store, he would like say, look at me like you're not going to ever see that money. And then he'd hand a stranger $100 bill.
Oh.
Now, if I was smart, I would send in a stranger to go get that $100 bill and split it with him.
Yes, yeah.
That's why I was really smart, but I didn't do that.
No, I don't think you're going to see that $50 at all.
Sam
No.
was a genius. Sam was hilarious. One night we used to play the Comedy Store in Westwood in the early 80s. And, probably about 40 people in the crowd. And Sam went up and he pulled out a newspaper. He says, let's see who won't be here with us tonight. And he started reading the obituaries. But Mike, that's pretty, right now, if someone did that, they go, oh, that's funny. But he walked the crowd.
Yeah.
They found that offensive. The comics in the back are laughing their ass off. Who won't be with us here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I might do that for my next act.
Why not?
Yeah. Be a tribute to Sam.
You can do stuff as long as you give that person credit. I learned that. There's a book of wisdom, of quotes. And the guy who wrote it put one of my jokes in there and gave me credit. But in the book, as long as Winston Churchill, Frank Sinatra, FDR, John F. Kennedy, you go down the line, all these famous people, then Bob Zany's in there. And I said to my attorney, I said, how can he do that without paying me? He says, because he gave you credit.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't steal it.
Yeah, true. Well, Bob, I hope to work with you one day, sir. I mean, you're so funny.
Well, why don't you have me go do this comedy club in Kansas City? Talk to the guy.
I will. I definitely will.
Because I have nothing else going on right now, and I'd love to go out to Kansas City again. And can I say something? Your backdrop is amazing. You can hardly see a shadow right over here. Is that where the advertising comes in?
Do you like it? Yeah. Do you like? Yeah.
No one knows that you're in an undisclosed location.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Now that you mention it, I'm going to start doing ads there.
Don't do anything back there. They don't let them find you.
Okay.
They're coming for 75 million Americans. Okay.
Yes. True.
A lot of innocent people get caught up in the sweep.
Yes. Yes. True. That's true. Well, Bob,
if I had to watch this as a forensic scientist, I'd go, I have no idea where he is. All I can see is this thing over here, and it looks like Colorado. That's what it looks like.
You're close. Very close. But well, Bob, thank you so much, sir, for coming on. It's been a pleasure, sir.
Thank you very much, Michael. I'm a huge fan of what you're trying to accomplish, and I know what a lot of work it is. But just if you really want to do it, just keep doing it, and expect real. You know what? I always say this. I always give back as much as possible without expecting anything in return. And boy, has that worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I can see that. Yes, I can definitely see that. Well, thank you so much, Bob. And yeah, definitely come to Kansas City.
Yeah, you're on the Twitter, right?
Yes.
Follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back, and Instagram or whatever, all those things. And then that way they can post this and folks can see it. And there, I put something on my social media account.
And I'll put your drybar link on it as well.
Yes, please do. We got to get the kids out there. Make sure they press that heart button.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
You can also tip me too, you guys. You can tip me at the end of it or during it. I don't know how that works. It's not like I tip myself. Anyway, you're the best, Mike. You baby.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, man. Got it?
Yes, sir.